Welcome to the Sunshine Study. I'm Dr. Rebecca, the Life Joy Coach and author, and I help people transform the burned out areas of their life into some balance and some blessing. What does burnout mean? Well, it means different things for different people, but are you mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, spiritually bereft? We help put all of that back in place, get you away from the cliff edge of trouble, and help you see your own beauty and brilliance, so you can be wiser, braver, and more joyous. So welcome to the Sunshine Study. I love sunflowers because they are golden, they seek the light, and when the storms come, they hold one another together. That's what we want to do here at Life Joy. Life Joy stands for love, integrity, fortitude, energy, joy, order, and you. And that is a unique blend of life coaching and counselling that helps my one-to-one clients shine ever brighter and transform themselves back to who they were, where they've always wanted to be, and gets them going forward. So I talk about burnout a lot because I had severe ME for more than 20 years. My health is somewhat improved. I'm trying to work, and this is part of that Life Joy work. I've been self-employed for 15 years, and I wanted to talk about burnout and employment today. I've done lots of training to different organisations about how to manage people with exhaustive conditions. And the problem is we need to manage ourselves first, don't we? But we need employers to have an understanding of what variable conditions are like ME, fibromyalgia, long COVID, and exhaustive conditions within other conditions. But also when you are fit and well, you cannot imagine what it is like to be so exhausted and so unwell and have a body and mind that are raging when you're fit and well. So we need people to understand, I don't want you to have to experience it. And that's what we're trying to do. So all of the work that I do now is a loving purpose from the immense adversity that I've had. I'm also patron of a mental health charity in Sunderland called Headlight, which is marvellous. I love the people there so much. And I've extreme examples of mental, physical, and emotional health. So the lack of it, principally. So I have lessons and blessings to share, I hope, from all of that. So here's the word that burnout often becomes associated with is unemployable, especially at the very severe end. And I never want that for you, but I've been unemployable, and there are big lessons from that horrible place. But I want you to have this video because I didn't have it, and there will be, I think, hundreds and thousands of people who are young and unwell, or unwell suddenly, or been unwell a long time, and I hope this will help. So, I had not heard the phrase unemployable until an immunologist said that to me and shouted at me and told me that I was not accepting of my illness and I should give in. And I couldn't believe it because he was being paid a huge amount of money and done a huge amount of training, and he was meant to help, and he was making it worse. He was saying this is a dead end, stop. I don't think any of us should hear that. It may be realistic that we can't continue where we were, or our normal expectations are too much for this season in life, but there is always hope because there is you. And all of your unique talents and gifts are there for the world. They are needed. We just have to get you in a position where your health in body and mind and soul is strong enough to be sustainable. Now, here's the thing. I don't think unemployable is forever. It may be for a long season of life. I didn't go to work till I was 36, but I was trying to get to work from 16, essentially. So here are some lessons. Remember, it may be that you can't do it at the moment. It doesn't mean it's forever. Remember that. There may be purpose in this season for you, and you may look back on it and think, thank God for the lessons that I learned during it and now. It's very easy for people to say, but I say it from a wealth of experience of illness. So remember that. Secondly, it is devastating. So I would say acknowledge that difficulty, acknowledge the unfairness of it, and offer a level of acceptance that is sensible, but not deterministic. So that consultant who screamed at me and told me I was, unrealistic. I probably was unrealistic at the time to be working a 40-hour, 80-hour week, live a big life and do all the things I used to do when I was well. But I wasn't ridiculous. There's the thing. So I was at the time doing a degree on 1/6 time, which everybody laughed at except my precious parents and my closest friends. And I did that degree at a snail's pace, but nobody laughed when the snail crossed the finish line. And here's the beautiful irony, is that same consultant said 7 years later, oh, I use you as an example to my young people because I say you may not be able to do 9 GCSEs at once, but you might be able to do 2 or 3. And Rebecca has done a degree at a slow pace, and she got there in the end. And the same was said for a master's degree and a doctorate. It took me a very, very long time. I acknowledge that I had immense support and a wonderful university, but I did have to keep going. So think about the season you're in and what is the slowest, smallest thing you could do to make some progress. So think about that. Now, be prepared to make big compromises with that. You may have to do something that's small and tiny in distance learning, but it's still valuable. It's still progress. You may have to pause for a while. That's really wise as well. But when I was doing that 1/6 times, so people were doing 6 modules of a course in a year, and I was doing 1. That was humiliating, but it was very precious as well. And it didn't matter what all the noise and the chatter and people's opinions were. They were just opinions. They weren't in my situation. And one of the great justifications of the people who had opinions about that were not constructive was that they didn't have a degree. Why bother? What's the point? You'll be 30 odd by the time you finish. What's the point? What's the point? And I remember thinking, I'll never be 19 again and be able to stand on steps outside a lecture for 5 minutes and have a chat to my pals about our essay or the library books and have that moment of joy. I cannot leave this till I'm 45. I've got to do what I can with my 1/6 time. So I would ask you today, what are you doing with your 1/9 time, 1/10, or a quarter or a third? Because you've probably got a bit more than you think. So there's the first point. Value slow. Slow is lovely. The second thing is, it's all right to make big compromises. I knew I wouldn't work an 80-hour a week, but lots of people work 20 hours a week and are fine, or 10. I worked 2 hours a week for a long time. So think about what's wise and good for you. Now, there may be something waiting for you if you look hard enough. So does your auntie's cousin's second brother have a business and they need somebody to do something for them 3 hours a week? Just think about that. So put feelers out, look and listen and think about what you could do. Then make a list of all the skills and talents that you have, and don't make it a CV, just make it a boring old list and see what you've got to offer. You will have so much more than you think. And think about where that might fit. What problems can you solve? Then you might just be self-employed. Now, I was self-employed because I couldn't find any of those avenues. I couldn't find anything that I could manage. I was so physically frail. But my mind was quite perky, and I could write and I could speak reasonably well, and I could leave an audience inspired. That's what the people in the audiences said to me. And that's what university did for me, ironically, at that one slow 10 years to get a degree, was that when you were in a humanities subject, you often have to give what's called papers and lectures and talks. And I learnt to do that. And the university asked me to give talks to their new postgraduate students about how to be a postgrad. And it was in that talk that a self-employed advisor was in the front row doing an MPhil and said, you've got to do that for a living, love. And it was just, oh my goodness. But I wouldn't have got there had I not done the 1/6 time. So remember that. A lot of plodding will get you a lot of progress. I understand there are setbacks. Every time I got a cold and it cost me 3 weeks in bed, I would be heartbroken. So I had to set about trying not to get infections. I had to set about doing all that I could, eat the right things, be disciplined, so boring, but in the end fruitful. So think about what you've got to offer, what problems it solves, for whom does it solve the problem? So I knew my clients were generally burned out women who were very honourable, very creative, very giving, but we had to put some boundaries in place to allow their creativity and joy and health to be protected, and often self-employed. So I help a lot with business as well. I have qualifications in that. But my qualifications never stopped. They kept learning because I kept having to learn the next thing. And I'm very comfortable with that. So remember, you may be unemployable this week, but it doesn't mean you're unemployable in a year. And what can you do to get yourself there in a year? May it be 10 years. It took me till I was 36. The first money I ever earned was a £30 check from life coaching. And I met my client in Asda Cafe and we had more than an hour together. And she said the magic words. She said, I needed a Becca boost and now I'm ready. And that £30, I think that was all I earned in a month. I was so unwell, that's all I could manage. But people don't have stories like that. And I needed to hear a £30 check story so that I could do the next £30. So have very small, realistic goals that are teeny tiny, that everybody laughs at, but you know you can manage. That undermines being burned out. It undermines being unemployable. So look for what you can do. Solve it. For whom? Now, the other thing that people think about being self-employed is that you just start and you get clients and it's easy. If that were the case, wonderful. But you have to learn how to have a business and you have to learn how to be self-employed. So start. Just listen to a podcast, listen to some YouTube, understand what basic marketing is, how you would do that, how people would get to know what you do. Maybe design a little business card. Do it with the minimum resources, the minimum spending you have to do. But just start to learn what you might need. So you may need a website, so you could learn a little bit about that. You may need to learn how to do some basic bookkeeping. You may need to learn your skill. You may need to learn some tech or some social media or some specialist software, or just how to be able to pitch yourself and say, I help people transform the burned out areas of their life into some balance and blessings. And I'm a life coach and I have counselling qualifications and I help you to help yourself. Now that took me years to get there, but think about who you are, what you do and where it gets people to. And you can do all of this quietly. I did a huge amount of work in the bedroom, just sitting up with a notepad for half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon. And it was all valuable. Get a file, a notebook, a computer out and just start to amass the knowledge. And when you're looking for help, look for free, neutral, statutory bodies. So in the northeast of England, we have a thing called the Business Innovation Centre. We have the BIPC in Newcastle. We have the BIC at Sunderland. You know, there are organisations often run by your council that will help you be self-employed. Go and find them, watch their free help, get a free business advisor, learn as much as you can. Now, some of that is overwhelming. But being unemployable and stuck is overwhelming too. So you have to choose to be uncomfortable somewhere and you will get less comfortable and more comfortable. It will change. I'm still learning tech. I'm learning this at the moment. So think about, no, I'm moving towards rather than I'm stuck. And then finally, I've written here, watch other people, learn from other people. So it may be so far off your remit that you watch Dragon's Den or The Hotel Inspector or business turnaround programs, but there's nearly always something you can pick up, however small, about presentation, about logos, about branding, about marketing, about presenting well, and realize that you're not that far away from that, and that may not be your ideal, but it may be something you can get something from. Just look at it as a syllabus of learning. Then you're less likely to be unemployable. Now, it may mean that you're not employable at all, and it may mean that you're totally self-employed and you're all in. But it also might mean that you do this for a bit, then there's a bridge to an employed position where you have the lovely things like holiday and sick pay and pensions and all those good things. But also it may mean that you can then maybe start a part-time job, which is secure and sustainable and helpful. And that in itself has been a transition. So think about realistic, small progress, and I think you'll have more peace. And remember, your worth is beyond measure. It's not your income, it's not your outgoings, it's who you are that is valuable. So if a professional tells you something, listen respectfully, then look at them. Are they making value judgments, emotional judgments, using their power badly? But listen to yourself first and the people who love you and trust in what you can do. And don't take massive, stupid risks. I'm a very low risk girl. I started work with a £14 suit, a file, my own computer and printer, and a little notepaddy wallety thing. That's all. So think about what you can do at the smallest level with the least expense. So I hope that helps. Now, I used to give talks a lot, and one of the talks was, what's the French for entrepreneur? And nobody laughed, and I always thought that was quite entertaining, so I hope that's made you smile. But remember, life is a lifelong learning lesson, and that learning is joyous if it's done wisely, sustainably, and in a manner that you can cope with. So find what's wise for you. Then your burnout is there as a blessing in the longer term, because it's put you back on track of where you should be. You may have veered off and worked 90 hours a week and worn yourself out, and that illness or difficulty or burnout has pulled you right back on track to where you should be. Get the lessons, learn them, don't repeat the mistakes, and remember your own joy and worth, and that we get one run at this. We've got to do the best that we can with what we have. Even if that's restriction, even if that's unfair, you've probably got far more to offer than you think. I'm pretty certain that you have. So take care, my friends. Remember to count your blessings, but your work can be a blessing too. Then you're not unemployable, are you? You're very, very valuable. Take care, my friends. God bless. Be safe. See you next time. Please like and subscribe.